Well, good morning, our beloveds. The transition between being muggle and a psychic, intuitive, medium, whatever you want to call it, is interesting. One is very much grounded in the left side of the brain, and others are grounded in the right side. And to go back and forth does create a distortion between our another's energetic imprint. She is showing up for people in a way that feels good, becoming the quasi-workaholic that she was before. And then when she moves into time with us, she slows down, she breathes, she is present. Now what that means is that the inner compass changes. And many of you will be asked to do this, to ground yourselves in ways that allows you to show up for your day-to-day activities in a way that is honestly more meaningful because you return to that vibration, but with a different imprint. And what we mean by that is if you are a physician and you become spiritually enlightened and you return to your original profession, when you are doing assessments or surgeries, there is no real time for connection to the divine because you are very present in the now, in the immediacy of meeting your client's needs. Having said that, though, your processing, your logistical or reasoning is impacted by your connection to the divine, but from your perspective, you just feel like you're in the here and the now, doing your job to a certain extent, dissociating, meaning that you are not really aware that you are in your physical body because the thinking part of you, the executive functioning, is on call and in action. So what does this mean for you, those who are listening? Many believed, thought, hoped, desired, and wished that when the spiritual ascension came upon you, that life might be easier, that you might be called to do more spiritual things and less physically or 3D things. And you also had an expectation of what it would look and feel like. And when you ascend, for many of you, you will realize it's chop wood, carry water. Not much has changed. It's just how you perceive it and how you do it. So just allow us to pull you forward with acceptance and gratitude and appreciation and trust. Not all of you are meant to be the guru figure, if you will, teaching others. You may be teaching others just by showing up in your old profession in a new way, a trauma-informed way, a kinder way, a place of appreciation where you remind others that they're doing a great job instead of criticizing them for what they're doing wrong. It is how you show up for others in the world that matters most, and we would just simply encourage you to allow the universe to take you where you can be of greatest service and to lean into that and find joy and contentment and frustration in the moments that feel great and don't. Allow yourself to have the full range of emotions, but be mindful how you take that out on others. Your inner turmoil is no longer their responsibility. You used to think it was, you now know better. So do better. Find a new way of showing up. Being trauma-informed means that you recognize that People's behavior is often either dictated by or informed by the trauma in their lives. So show up as kind and appreciative with directive and direction. Do not allow yourself to be disrespected. You call people out and say, that's not appropriate, and give them a chance to fix their attitude and their impression. And if they choose not to, it may just be a sign that they're not a good vibrational fit for your organization or your attention. You get to say, this doesn't feel good. This doesn't feel accommodating. This doesn't feel like you value what I have to offer. And if you don't value the time and the effort, then I think that we should sever our ways. There are many different ways of saying this, professionally and personally, and even marginally, those who just kind of meet on the margin of life. You are here to now speak up lovingly. And when you get more connected to somebody, to find the beauty in their disorganization, to recognize that this is their trauma speaking, and to see it for what it is, with compassionate eyes instead of judgmental eyes. But many of you won't get there because you would still approach it from a trauma-informed perspective, meaning your own trauma. So let go what doesn't feel good, because the goal is not to harm others with your outbursts. Finding peace and compatibility with those around you right now is really important, while showing up in a professional way for those who are more marginalized if you work in that community. You need to be mindful that not everybody is ascending. Not everybody knows how to, desires how to, wants to, and to assume that they are lesser than exacerbates the privileged position that you hold and that you carry and that you are assigned. Know that you are here to be a beacon of light, to help others only if they ask. And if they don't ask, just do your job. Be kind, be present, be perfect in their eyes to a certain extent, from the perspective of they see that you care, and that you want to be there, and that you value their input, and that you increase their capacity of being autonomous while educating them. It is a tall order, and yet we want to point out the blueprint for many of you who are going to be interacting with the muggles even after your spiritual light turns on. The goal is not to avoid the muggles. The goal is to interact with them in a way that references the light. And what we mean by that is to just embody it. Be a kind, loving mother figure or a kind, loving father figure to those around you. What would it look like if you had been properly loved, if you had properly been tended to? No judgment, no harshness, just consistent presentation of love with boundaries. Jesus had a lot of boundaries for those of you who struggle with that. But he also spoke of other things, of loving those who are marginalized, struggling, the widows, the poor, the lepers. Be mindful of how you present. Not that you have to present like Jesus because that he is your Savior or anything like that. Simply because he came to live and to model what love looks like, and to be present with those who are struggling, to offer them words of comfort and even forgiveness. You're fine the way you are. Be mindful of how you go forward. And be you. Know that you are loved and are worthy of being loved. And choose people who treat you accordingly. It's your worth that matters more than the others right now, because you are feeling shame and guilt and dissociation. Those words mean nothing to many of you. Maybe Google them or meditate on them, because this is the languaging to a certain extent that we're going to be moving towards. More of the scientific versus the woo-woo. Because the science has backed research, and if you read the research, you will understand of which we speak. Be intellectual as well as intelligent and informed and inspired and connected. It matters during these times. Being the best version of you doesn't mean being the kindest version. Being the best version of you means being the most aware version of you that recognizes your own trauma and where you're not ready to do this yet. Don't pretend to be something you're not, and don't fake it until you make it. Be authentic, because if you show your vulnerabilities, others will be inspired to recognize that it's okay to also be indifferent to the needs of some because they're just not capable. And maybe they'll get there and maybe they won't. The shame piece is the first thing that needs to be healed within any and every individual. And that requires radical self-care before your own cup overfloweth, and only then can you show up for others. This message is important for you as well as the caregivers of humanity going forward, because the shame spiral is what we desire more than anything else to stop, to replace, and to supplant with unconditional love. You are loved no matter how poorly you behave, because it's an appropriate response for you in this moment. But after the fact, let's just reflect on maybe how we could do it next time that feels less argumentative, less disciplinary, or discipline-oriented, or just simply less angry. There is no single blueprint. There is no single methodology. You are all unique creatures, and it will come about in the appropriate time and the appropriate way if you allow it. Just trust in your journey and lean into the unknown, trusting that it will guide you by bringing you the right people and the right opportunities and the right moment. And so it is. Namaste.